And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Deeper Dive. It is Wednesday, February 7th. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Matt Belman. We are brought to you by Bet365. We've got a 7-game slate ahead of us. We've got some trades slowly trickling in for second round type picks. I'm getting excited for trade deadline tomorrow. It's going to be a big 24 hours in the NBA. Hit that like button so that you can watch NBA Live before lock after this. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. What's going on, man? How are you?
Good, man. Happy to be on here with you. Trying to think about the trade deadline. Nothing really exciting yet. Do you expect anything of substance to happen at all?
Ooh, I'm already excited for these deals. The Jazz get probably the 32nd pick in the draft for Fontecchio. Love it for Utah. Monty Morris to Minnesota as a backup guard for basically nothing. Love it for the Wolves. I'm already in, but
Yeah,
I geek
I
out
knew
over
you.
this stuff, so that's all I need. Just like a second round trade, and that's it.
I knew you love the trade deadline. I did not know your love was that deep, where you are excited over the trades that have already happened today. But hey, God bless you. I'm happy for you. It is exciting times. I mean, everyone I feel like who plays DFS and who follows any sport loves the trade deadline.
It's my favorite thing. Tomorrow is like my favorite day. It's sort of like my DFS. Well, it's like my basketball Christmas, I guess. It's the best. It's the absolute best. It's a weird slate. We got the two 7 o'clock games, a couple 7:30 games, and we take a little bit of a siesta until 10 o'clock. And then all hell breaks loose for Sacramento and Detroit, which should be really interesting. I'm pumped for this slate in a weird way. I don't know why, but I am.
Feel like it's a different slate than we've had recently because ownership is flat. There isn't
Yeah,
like that one spot, team missing all their guys or multiple teams missing all their guys. So there's a lot of
good.
similar plays across the board, which is nice.
And I'm over like the Memphis nonsense. Maybe we'll be getting 30 minutes of Lamar Stevens per game moving forward now that he is going to be a member of the Memphis Grizzlies. Good for him, I
I'd
guess.
hope not.
Well, better than not playing for Boston, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't expect him to play for Memphis, but I guess there anything goes. And they're playing
I
guys
mean, right
right
now he will
now.
be like their
Yeah,
fourth best dude.
that's so crazy, but you're not wrong.
Yeah, long term, no, I don't think he has a career in Memphis. But for right now, there are multiple dudes on
You
that
know
team that
what?
I didn't know were basketball players.
You're right. Actually, he's probably like, I'm not getting any run at all. This is a much better spot for him. Like,
Yeah,
guy had never planned to now, like you said, walks his way into being like at least a legit starter for them right now.
I assume he's going to play like 20 minutes a night
Yeah. So good
at
for
a
him.
minimum, just because Tillman's gone now. Like it's not like they got a lot else going on at the 4 or 5. So anyway, we want to talk some DFS.
Yeah. Let's get after it. Like you said, pretty interesting slate with the timing of the games and just everything about it.
The Toronto Raptors are 7.5 point favorites in Charlotte, 226 total. We got a pretty decent chunk of ownership coming in here on the Toronto side. 20 to RJ Barrett, around 15 to Emmanuel Quickly, around 15 for Jakob Pertl, just 7 for Scotty Barnes. So we do show with a little bit of positive leverage. What stands out to you here from Toronto?
Barnes has been showing up positively leveraged for a while now. Um, I get it. Like, this is a good spot for him. Hard for me to prioritize him at that price point. Toronto looks good here. I think Podol looks the best to me at 5,900. Obviously, opportunity cost at center always, but he's not pulling a ton of ownership. I really like the spot for Podol. Toronto just looks like a team I'd like some exposure to, but no one guy in particular stands out. How about you?
I have very little of these guys, and I think Quickly, Hurdle, Barrett, and Barnes are all like very clearly solid plays for today. I understand why they're getting some ownership. They should be in that like 10 to 15% range. I'm surprised I'm not getting at least one of these guys in any sort of stand. I kind of see it the way that the negative leverage is showing up, where like they're all just a little bit over owned. And then for some, like I think I'm just getting to other things in that 8-9K range, and I can't capitalize on the Scotty Barnes piece. But I would be more than happy to get to these Toronto pieces. A matchup against Charlotte's a dream. They're the worst defense in the league. They play at like a relatively fast pace. There's less talent on that opposite side of the ball when there's no LaMelo Ball around. Rozier is long gone. This should be a good spot for Toronto, but I'm under on Quickly. I'm under on Jakob Poeltl. I'm under on RJ Barrett. I'm under on Scotty Barnes. I don't like that though. That feels uncomfortable to start the day.
Well, I feel like they're all just at least appropriately priced, if not a little bit overpriced for their median outcome. They're all underpriced for their upside, especially in this price. That's why I wouldn't mind getting to any of them. But like you, none of them stand out. And there are some good spots on this slate. So I understand the Toronto ownership won't be mad if I land on any of the guys you mentioned. But as of now, no one is like a must play for me or close to that.
Yeah, I had a lot more of Quickly this morning, and I don't know what changed. I guess maybe the fact that he's up to 16% ownership, maybe that is the deciding factor for me. But now I'm only getting like 8 to 10 on Quickly and Jakob Poeltl, and I right now have 0 RJ Barrett, which I'm very, very surprised about.
Yeah,
I'm only good off of our projection by 0.7 of a point. It's not like I have him, 3 points below, and it's very obvious. Like I don't have him any different. I think it's just 20% ownership stopping me.
I think it's the ownership, and at least to me, he looks like a secondary play on this slate, like a solid play. Don't get me wrong, but not in that like first group of guys that you're like, really, really targeting. And our boom bust tool kind of lays that out. He's in like the bottom of that first tier. He's priced where he should be, but again, he's got upside at 6,900 now, especially in this spot. So I'm with you. He'd probably be my favorite just because of the positionality. Well, I said Poeltl would because of his price tag, but I think you can make reasonable cases for all of them, all three of them, which is why I said at the beginning, none of them stand out from each other.
I have nothing else to add here. I think those are the only 4 guys you can get to. Like I can't imagine really wanting to get to Gary Trent or anything like that. So it's really those 4 dudes and nobody else.
I'm with that.
We then go to the Charlotte Hornets. Weird team. 20% ownership coming into Nick Richards today, and around 10 for PJ Washington and Miles Bridges. Sean V here. This is going to be a fun conversation. So I'm getting a lot of the Charlotte Hornets team. We've got PJ Washington as a positive leverage guy. We've got Nick Richards slightly negative, but 18.5% optimal is showing us the number 1 dude from Charlotte. You get Miles Bridges in that 10% range as well. And then I am now up to 18% Brandon Miller at 5% ownership after crapping all over him when Sean V was trying to tout him earlier today. Makes perfect sense. What do you like here for Charlotte? How are you handling this Nick Richards ownership?
Charlotte kind of looks like Toronto to me. Like I like them a little bit more because I think they're priced better for who they are. But I don't think any one of these guys is like a must play. The closest thing to that for me would be Miles Bridges. Playing really good ball right now. He never gets a ton of love because of where he's priced at. It's nice to see he's doing it in a variety of ways. Last game, he scored like 40 plus points. I know he didn't have it. That was crazy. He scored like 40 real life points and only had 48 fantasy points. I actually hate that. But then you look at like his past games and he'd been really filling up the stat sheet. So I look at last game was an anomaly and at least he got there somehow. Like him a lot.
Yeah.
Borderline priority. He's priced right with like Wemby. So you can't prioritize all those guys, but Bridges looks really good here. Miller, I think, is a great GPP play. He's priced. I don't want to say he's priced up now because we don't really know where his true price should be, but he's priced higher than he was. So I think there's a lot of fluidity there. Like, I think he's got a ton of upside. So he's shown it. He's got like 50 plus fantasy points or something like that in 3 straight games. I'm not buying that completely, but I'm not selling it either. So like, I think he's got a low floor, but a real high ceiling because he's done it a bunch recently. Also nice to see. He was awful in the first half last game. I know you guys talked about this with Anthony Edwards yesterday, who ended up having a monster game last night. I kind of like that. It's like buying signs for me. Miller went off in the second half. Doesn't mean he's going to play well tonight. I like him here. It's hard to say that you need to play him at 7,200, but 2 weeks from now, we could be saying that like, man, 2 weeks ago, he was 7,200. We should have just locked him in.
We also have to remember Gordon Hayward, questionable for this one. He's been out for a million years. Cody Martin, questionable. Haven't seen him in a bit. Frank Ntilikina, also questionable. Mark Williams, out. And that one, not surprising. LaMelo Ball, also out. Don't think Kyle Lowry is going to be suiting up for this one either. Right now, I have 30% of Bridges, very sizable stand. I have 30% of PJ Washington. Again, a very sizable stand. I have way too much of Nick Richards that will go down. I just took a minute away from him just to try to save myself. And then I'm over on Brandon Miller. All four of these guys are turning into dudes that I'm getting to. I guess I'm just rooting for a Charlotte Hornets team to win this one outright.
This is possible. Toronto sucks right now also. Charlotte's been close. They played the Lakers really well. And the thing that's nice about Charlotte, they play their guys big minutes in competitive games. Like Bridges is playing the entire first quarter, at least half the second quarter, same rotation in the second half if the game's competitive. Miller, if he can stay out of foul trouble, basically the same thing. Like that's nice when you get guys that are just going to play.
Do you see anything else here? I think we're just drawing a line through like, do you want to get to any Cody Martin if he's starting?
I don't think it's a bad play, but I guess why I think Toronto also looks appealing is this game environment as a whole looks good from both sides. So just my interest in Charlotte makes me like the guys from Toronto more. That said, the guys from Charlotte just look better. And as far as Nick Richards' ownership, I get it. His price has fallen to 5,500. He's going to play big minutes. All of Charlotte is like, unlike Toronto, where they're either appropriately priced or a little bit overpriced, Charlotte is appropriately priced or a little bit underpriced in my eyes.
I did not expect to have Charlotte as my third most exposed team today, yet here we are.
Like you said, it's a salary cap game.
It really is. It really is. I'd like to pick, if I'm going to have this much Charlotte, I really do wish I had a little bit more Toronto.
I feel like that also, but at the end of the day, it just usually doesn't. There's 7 games tonight, so there's 12 other teams to choose from other than Toronto. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not something I want to like force or anything,
Same.
But just on the surface, if I just had a little bit more Scotty Barnes in my Charlotte lineups, if I had a little bit more quickly, like those are the kind of guys where they're going to look like a bunch of other dudes, but in a Charlotte heavy lineup, if I've got a lineup that has even just like 2 of these guys, if I had Bridges and Brandon Miller, I'd like to have Quickly or Barnes or something like that on the opposite end of it. Just makes some sense to me.
It makes logical sense because like if Bridges and Miller are playing a full game, it's likely the game's competitive. Charlotte doesn't really blot anyone. If the game's competitive, Toronto on the other side, it looks good. So it makes complete logical sense to me. For me, it's just like at that point, does Toronto look better than the other teams on this slate, which they might.
Yeah. Anything else you want to touch on here? I feel like we've kind of hit everybody. Like if we get Gordon Hayward out, Cody Martin out, Ntilikina out, I don't really think that that's creating anybody new. Maybe we get the Leaky Black experience again at 3,500, but I don't think we're going to be running to jam him today like we did last time.
No, but the more guys that are in, the less I like the guys we talked about, just because their minutes all of a sudden might not be as high.
I got nothing else here. Go Charlotte Hornets, a game that I cannot watch.
Yeah.
1 down, 6 more to go. Hit that like button, folks. How many people we got in here right now? Almost 1,300, only 130 likes. That ratio, 10% or so. Come on, guys, you're better than that. Hit that thumbs up. If you want to watch NBA Live Before Lock, which is coming up next, you got to hit that thumbs up. That is the way to unlock that show. You should also not sign up. Go to stokastic.com/avatar, grab our logo, use it at DraftKings, FanDuel, Owner's Box, Yahoo, so that you can get yourself a free month of whatever you want at Stokastic, individual sport packages. If you're using it and you finish in the top 3 of a contest with 5,000 or more entries, that is what you need to do. You can then tweet that result at StokasticHOF. Show us your lineup. Show us the contest. We want to see that logo in your screenshots. We want to show it off to everybody else, promote you. We want to give you a little something for your trouble. This costs you nothing. You don't have to have a sub with us, nothing like that at all. You just go to stokastic.com/avatar and rep that logo. That's the only thing you need to do. Easy, costs you nothing, and you have a chance at a $200 value. The Cleveland Cavaliers are 11.5-point favorites in Washington, 234 total. We have 19% ownership coming into Jared Allen right now, and single digits across the board for everybody else. Have a little bit of positive leverage on Evan Mobley. We've got Donovan Mitchell around 8% optimal. Let's start at the top here. What do you want to do here with your boy Jared Allen?
He looks great here. All-star snub twice now. Injury replacements came out, didn't make it either time. Don't care about that for tonight, but he's too cheap for how he's been playing. The boom bust tool lays that out perfectly. He's 4th overall. Usually you don't see him that high. It's all a price thing there. He should be 8K to 8,400, somewhere in that range. He's 7,600. He won't be 7,600, I don't think, on the next slate he's on. He's a price play for me in a great spot. We saw this matchup, I don't know, a month ago, 6 weeks ago. They played back-to-back games. He absolutely smashed. Big men destroy Washington. I watched some of their last game against Phoenix. I mean, Nurkic looked like Jokic out there. He almost had a first-half triple-double. So, not that Allen's going to do that tonight. You know, it doesn't mean that I like Allen more than I would have, but he just looks like a great play in all formats.
I have 0.
Interesting.
I don't think he looks bad or anything like that. And obviously, I don't like it going up against the Wizards where everyone gets to go play the Wizards and look amazing. I think it's just the ownership. I am certainly lower projected than we are by a sizable margin. This one is different than what I talked about before. I am way under what we have for Jared Allen right now. I don't love because this matchup is quite ideal, but I think as we get more and more minutes for Garland, as we get more and more minutes for Mobley, I think this is going to bring Jared Allen back to normal Jared Allen rates. And now we're going to be getting somewhere in that 28-minute range for Garland, somewhere in that 28-minute range for Mobley. I think he starts to look a little bit more like he used to. And now he's still sort of repping a price tag. It's probably a little bit higher than what you would want if that's the case. I could be very wrong. This could be a new Jared Allen. They could be playing him slightly differently where that sort of impact isn't there. But I think that's what's causing me to not get as much.
I'm actually buying that argument for sure. I'm not buying the ownership argument only because to me, and this is just how I see it, there are 3 clear top centers, Sabonis, Allen, and Bam. They're all getting appropriate ownership. Then there's a second tier of Richards and Podol. They're both getting appropriate ownership. So I don't see anyone else that stands out to me as like a contrarian option. So when all the guys are getting ownership that I think are the good plays, I don't have a problem with any of their ownerships is I guess the best way to put it.
It looks like I'm sort of doing some weird stuff at center. I'm certainly prioritizing value or pay downs. Like I've got a lot of, and I don't even know if these guys are getting used in the center spot, but I'm just, I sorted by anybody that has center eligibility. I'm well over on PJ Washington at 5,700. I'm well over on Nick Richards at 5,500. I've got a bunch of $3,200 Trey Lyles right now as well. I'm under on Sabonis. I'm under on Wemby. I'm basically neutral on Bam. I'm 3x the field on Miles Bridges. Now, I don't know if he's getting used as a center or not, but even still. So, like, I don't have anybody else at the top more than the 18% I have of Sabonis. It's 12% of Porzingis right now. I've got Kuzma, but like, I'm not really getting to bulk anything other than the cheap versions of centers today.
Yeah, honestly, I think that makes a lot. If you're playing a power forward at center, and why wouldn't you at least have that option, then I don't think it's crazy to be underweight on Allen. And your points about Mobley being back, like maybe as opposed to what I said that his price is too low, like you said, maybe it could be too high. Maybe it's appropriate. I think there's more unknown than certainly there was 6 weeks ago when they played Washington without those guys. So
yeah,
I get it. Like there are a bunch of good power forward centers on this slate. You didn't even mention a guy like Okongwu who's getting love, who I still like. So I don't hate that fade at all, just because there are a lot of good options.
By the way, Cody Martin available to play. Gordon Hayward out. Frank Ntilikina out. I am guessing none of that stuff matters. I think if Cody Martin's starting, I think you get like around 27 minutes, 26 minutes, something like that, and he'll be a reasonable option. And then with no Gordon Hayward and with no Frank Ntilikina, I think you just see an extra minute or two for Ish or Nick Smith, Bryce McGowan's. I don't think that creates any new value for the Hornets.
Same. It's Bridges, Miller, Richards. That's pretty much it for me. Martin, I don't hate.
What do you want to do with Mitchell?
I like Mitchell here. I mean, he's been fantastic. The Cavs have been playing amazing recently, and he's been the lead catalyst there. Great spot for him. It's just a matter of like, if you're spending 9,900 on Mitchell, who are you not getting to? But that's always the case. And I feel like I've said that a bunch recently, and every time he just smashes. So they're facing Washington. If Mitchell's your guy tonight, do it. He doesn't stand out in our tools. Like he's not top 5 in the boom bust, but he's also under 7% owned. So yeah, if Mitchell's your guy, go for it. He's probably not going to be my guy here. How about you?
I have 4%. I'm never mad if I get him. And obviously you can show out against the Wizards pretty easily. And it doesn't really take a shit ton of effort, but
so could
similar
Garland.
Story for Mitchell. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Similar story for Mitchell here. It's the same story for Mitchell as it was for Allen. Getting more Garland and getting more Mobley is limiting to the Donovan Mitchell frequency of ceiling games.
100%. Speaking of which, Mobley is interesting because he's not going to play a ton of minutes.
Yeah.
But he's the cheapest of them all and has been really, really good the past 2 games. Now, you need everything to break right in the amount of minutes he plays, but he's the type of player, and this is the type of matchup where he can do that. So not a priority, but good dimension in tournaments in my eyes.
Yeah, if you get like 45 out of Mobley, I think at that point at 7,100, you're like, all right, that's going to be a really good piece for my lineup. That's 1.6x his salary. That's not like, you're not like breaking the bank on that one. That's not a crazy per minute rate. I mean, it's high, obviously. He's at 1.43 since he's been back, if we want to point anything out, but not that I think that's continuing either. So I don't mind like any sort of GPP shouts for Evan Mobley.
Yeah, that's
definitely not going to anybody else.
Same.
When we talk about this garbage Wizards team who, I don't know, they're live to trade like 10 different dudes in the next 24 hours. 10% ownership coming into Tyus Jones. Technically, no one made double digits if we don't round up. He is 10% optimal, which is real. But it's basically just single-digit ownership, single-digit optimal across the board. I have 12% of Kuzma. That's the highest I have of anybody from the Wizards, but none of it looks good.
I wrote up Kuzma in my contrarian article earlier. It looks like those numbers have shifted. He still looks good at his price point, though. You're obviously knowing, going into this that it's not a good matchup, but he's cheaper than he's been. It's hard to prioritize him at 7,600. He's in play, but I like the Miles Bridges of the world significantly more, I would say.
Yeah. I got a couple shares of Gafford, a couple shares of Kuzma, a couple shares of Tyus Jones. Not really getting to anything else here. If I had Denny, if I had Jordan Poole, I'd be okay with it. But most of these guys are just like large field GPP plays.
Yeah, bad team, bad matchup. Hard to prioritize too many Wizards here.
Ugh. All right. Next one. Unless you have more Wizards takes.
I do not.
I didn't think so. Golden State Warriors. 5-point favorites in Philadelphia, 235 total. This is going to be a disaster on the opposite side, but on the Golden State side, we can get through it pretty quick. 2 guys have got themselves into double-digit ownership numbers. That is Klay Thompson at 19. That is Draymond Green at 13. Both guys also double-digit optimal rates. I am getting to Klay at 5,500, shooting guard only. Wish he still had the MPE. Should still have the MPE, by the way, but even still, I'm neutral to the field. I don't really have Draymond. I never really get him, and I don't really know why. My projection is within a point of ours, so I don't feel like I'm off by anything major. He's just not in my lineups. Wouldn't mind it if he was. How are you feeling about the Warriors here? It looks like we're going to have Andrew Wiggins back, and we have a Q tag on Draymond. So that actually does have a pretty big impact for a value perspective, because I assume if Draymond is out, we're going to have some interest in a $3,500 Kevon Looney.
Definitely. He would become one of the better plays on the slate in my mind. As of now, I'm pretty indifferent towards Golden State. I guess I get the Clay ownership because of his price point, falling to 5,500. He's shown multiple times this season that he can pay off that tag, plus a lot and be a key piece of a tournament winning lineup there. The ownership's there though. So like, I get it, but I don't really want to pay for pay for Clay right now and have the ownership be there. So, other guys we talked about earlier that were getting love that I liked a little bit more makes sense. Can't play all contrarian guys. You don't want to play all really popular guys. I'll probably stay away from Clay here, understanding that at 5,500, he certainly has upside. The other Golden State guys I'm pretty indifferent to as well. Like Steph always has upside, but he doesn't stand out on this slate or basically any slate he's on at 9,500. The Draymond news is big.
It really is, because I think even if we talked about it a little bit this morning, like if you give him 20 minutes at center, which might even be a little light, he already becomes like a really good point per dollar play on a slate where we don't have a real ton of sub 4K dudes. Every minute after that just like exponentially raises his ownership. You might be able to sneak into like a little bit of Dario Saric or something too. Maybe that's Trace Jackson Davis. That's where like the ambiguity would start to creep in. But I think we would just get get Looney in that assumption, which would be, I don't know, not fun. It's not like I want to play Kevon Looney today.
I don't either, but I feel like whoever the starter is, I'd be more than interested in. And it probably would be Looney.
Yeah. If it ends up being Trace Jackson Davis, like you're like, that's a good point. You're going to whoever that ends up being. Trace Jackson Davis is 3,600. So whether it's him or Looney in the starting lineup, like that's going to be the guy we prefer.
For sure.
Do you want to touch on anybody else? Pajemski, Wiggins, nothing. We're good.
Yeah, Wiggins is back, so takes Pajemski down a notch. Yeah, Philly's defense sucks right now with no Embiid. They're struggling. So Golden State is much more in play now than they were a week ago when these teams played, but they don't stand out to me. So no.
So this line was originally Warriors -1. And then we got the questionable tag news on Tyrese Halliburton. We got the note that he wasn't at shoot around. And we also now have a Q tag on Daniel House and a Q tag on Marcus Morris to go along with no Melton, no Embiid, no Covington, no Batum. 4-point line move is pretty big, leading me to believe that we're not going to have a Tyrese Maxey for this one. Even if Maxey is in, we have 20% ownership-ish coming into Tobias Harris, which I think is also fully warranted. I have 20%. Let's just start there. If Maxey plays, are you liking Tobias Harris?
Yeah, I like Tobias Harris no matter what. He's still too cheap in my mind. He is taking on a huge role. Golden State isn't anything to write home about defensively. He looks great with Maxey in. I doubt Maxey plays. So Tobias Harris looks like one of the best plays on the entire slate. I like him on par, maybe slightly more than Miles Bridges.
Okay. Now, if Maxey is in, do you like anything else for Philly? Like, obviously, if Marcus Morris is out and House is out, we're going to start looking at some sort of additional value somewhere. But do you like Maxey if he's playing?
In play, but he's pricey, and someone who plays minimal lineups, it's hard to go to a guy who questionable because he's sick, missed shoot around. Now, if he plays, I'm going to presume that he's 100%. The price isn't really great though. So like, I probably won't get there. I'd rather get to Donovan Mitchell, who I still probably won't get to, but Mitchell's a little more expensive. I think that he's right in line with Steph Curry at basically the same price point.
Agreed. I don't have much. We're going to have a ton of this Philly team if he's out, though, right?
Yeah, I mean...
Is it Jaden Springer? Is he the first guy up that you try to get to, or does it become Pat Bev?
Well, let me ask you this. Like, does it even matter for Harris for you?
It's just going to give me more of him.
Sure.
Like, I already have 20. That just means I'm going to have more of that.
Yeah, fair. I guess my biggest part of the reason I don't care that much is because Philly sucks. And with Maxey out, like, not that I expect Golden State to roll, but like Philly's more competitive with Maxey in. Like, yeah, it takes away from Harris's usage, etc. But like, you need good players to be good, so
You
like
do.
they don't have that many others besides Harris and Maxey right now. Springer's interesting to me. I wrote him up today. All of a sudden has found his way to average like 22 minutes over the past 4 games. Now, a couple of those have been wonky, but you're seeing him get run now with Embiid just out, and they're not playing their centers 48 minutes or close to it. So Springer's probably the guy. Beverly is a little bit pricey for who Pat Bev is, but obviously no Embiid. If you have no Maxey, I think they both become in play. And also Daniel House, who I don't care to play, but he's eating minutes right now for them.
Yeah. This could get really ugly if it's no Maxey, no House, no Morris, because I think Morris is a guy that we're going to end up getting to if we lose Maxey. He tends to be a guy that soaks up a little bit more usage in these sorts of scenarios. But I think Springer is just going to have to play somewhere north of 20 minutes today at 3,500 and like take some shots, at which point he's going to be a fantastic $3,500 option. I also think we're live to like get to a little bit of Korkmaz if Maxey is out too. He's 3,400, also shooting guard only. The relationship between ownership for him and Springer will be interesting. Obviously, Springer is a significantly better per minute performer than Korkmaz, but maybe if Korkmaz is lucky, he could get some minutes today and play, and they'll finally trade him after 4 years of requests.
Yeah. I don't hate the shout out. He's a guy that's shown when he gets minutes, he can be productive-ish. So 3,400, It's all it is.
I mean, we might be in line to have to replace 75 minutes of projected playing time for Philly that we have in right now. That's just like, it's got to go somewhere. And you've already got Patrick Beverly and Jaden Springer projected for some minutes. It's whether that's Terquavion Smith.
Yeah.
Getting
that's who I was just thinking about.
Big run, like KJ Martin is going to become a thing at power forward center if he's 3,300 and we're doing this. You might see additional run go to Mo Bamba if Marcus Morris is out. You might be getting a 24-24 split at a Paul Reed and Mo Bamba.
You might.
We're starting to run pretty low on centers at that point.
I'd like Bamba.
Yeah, if 1.1 fantasy point per minute guy at you give him 26 fantasy points at 4,700, that becomes one of the better individual values. We don't know how limited Paul Reed is right now. He has been limited over his past 2. I don't know, like maybe they'd continue to go small in a spot like this at center, but I don't think they're going to be like clamoring to play KJ Martin or something at the 5 if you don't have Morris.
Man, and Bamba's 4,700.
Yeah.
All right, let me ask you this. If Maxey is in, is there anyone besides Harris that is at least or even close to a priority for you?
No, not even close.
Okay, same.
Now, the only thing that matters for Philly is if Maxey is in. You will get like incrementally more interesting guys if House and Morris are out, but Maxey is in. But I don't think that anybody's going to look better than Tobias Harris at that point. I'm expecting, I had this conversation a little bit earlier with someone. We'll just call him Schmadam for right now. And I was thinking to myself, with how easy it is to late swap, like back in the day, I wouldn't have wanted to take Maxey out because taking him out before lock if we don't have the news, because the entire process of late swaps is just a pain in the ass. But now, am I better off just taking him out, locking in all of this value that I expect to see, and then swapping once I know proper ownership heading into 7:30 so that the structure of my lineup is already leaning more towards getting that Philly value? I feel like it's easier now to take those chances because late swapping is easier.
I agree. Also, like, it could always backfire, but either way could backfire. Like,
yeah,
you're taking a risk not doing that also. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think that you want to be cautious in doing stuff like that. Obviously, you know that. But this is a circumstance where I expect Maxey to not play when he missed it. Yeah. Now, the other thing is, though, like, you talk about this a lot. Usually it's like the next day when guys are sick, but like if they miss shoot around, maybe he's just not feeling well and doesn't want to get the rest of the team sick. So, like, 100%. That could easily be also. It's just the way the reporting came out. First, he's questionable late. Then he misses shoot around. Like, it certainly makes you eerie, if nothing else.
I just look like that line moving 4 points didn't happen from Marcus Morris and Daniel House. And that is
No.
such a stark move that I feel like I'm leaning way more out than in right now. And I
Well, I
kind of
think
want to
that's
just
just
take
saying
that
that
chance.
I think it's just saying that they are leaning more towards him being out. Not that they
Yeah.
know, but I
Yeah.
agree with you. So I think that's the logical approach to take personally.
So we'll see how that all shakes out. Maybe we just get that news and nothing matters. Jonte Porter now out for Toronto, went from probable to questionable to out in 10 seconds, but didn't matter anyway. Anything else here for Philly?
No, important team, obviously, tonight.
Yeah. All right. Then we will keep this moving by saying, hey, 1,900 people, thank you for hitting the like button, getting us up to 300. Don't be afraid to run it up a little bit higher. We got to talk about Bet 365. You see the banner on the top of the screen. This offer is available for Kentucky, Ohio, New Jersey, Virginia, Iowa, Colorado, Louisiana, and now Indiana and Arizona. They are both live at Bet 365. Bet $5. Get $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you need help on the sports betting side, Odds Shopper is what you're looking for. You can find a link for that in the description. We take a market-based approach to beating the books. We're going to give you the best lines possible, expected value, expected win rate, all that good stuff. If you want to try to beat Bet 365, that's going to be the way to do it. You should just be taking it if you're in the sports betting side. You want to be at multiple books so you can shop around and make sure you're getting the best line. And if you're doing that, you also want to do it by taking advantage of these starting bonuses. To bet 5 and get 150, you're not going to get much better of a return. It's basically like taking a $5 parlay and hitting for 150 bones. Like, just take advantage of it while you can. You have to be 21 or over in all of the states that I mentioned before, except for Kentucky, who is stereotypically 18 or over in this case. If you have a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. We shall move on to the Atlanta Hawks, 12.5-point dogs in Boston, 244 total. Atlanta is an interesting team for today because this might be the last time that Atlanta looks like Atlanta before tomorrow. Clint Capella is out. DeAndre Hunter is available. DeJounte Murray is questionable with lower back tightness, or he's got a case of the tradesies. Anyway, 10% ownership to Murray, to Okongwu, to Trae Young. What stands out here for Atlanta? Let's just assume for right now that Murray plays.
Nothing if Murray plays. I know, obviously, these guys, Young and Murray specifically, have tournament upside, but if Murray's in, nothing really. Side note, so obviously all the talk is that Murray is likely or probably or might be traded, whatever it is. And Simmons was talking about this, and he was like, it was kind of reminding him of the Sacramento situation where everyone was like, you should deal Fox. You have Halliburton and Fox. You got to deal one of them. You should deal Fox. But, you know, Halliburton was on the much better contract. So you got so much more for him than you could for Fox. Is Atlanta in a situation where they need to deal one of these guys? Like, should they just bite the bullet and get a lot for Trae Young? I don't want to say a ton, but some team would be willing to give a lot for him and then build around that and then have Murray be a part of that. Thoughts on that?
I mean, it all depends on what you get back, but replacing, like, I'm not the biggest Trae Young guy, but he's still, like, he has an elite level skill set on the offensive side.
He puts people in seats.
Yeah, like he's on per Darko, he's plus 4.3 offensive plus minus. Like, that is high level elite. I think you set yourself back by doing that unless you get the offer that you cannot refuse. But we're talking about like a top 10 offensive player in basketball. Now, he gives up a lot of that defensively for sure. But, you know, if you could take control of someone's draft for the next 7 years, like, there's certainly a mechanism for it.
Sure. I think it's worth thinking about. Because I just don't think Murray has that much value. Yeah, nothing from Atlanta stands out to me, though. If Murray ends up being out, I like Trae Young more, but I feel like we've read this book before. Murray out, Trae Young becoming really popular. And his rates are better without Murray, but they're not like overwhelming where you need to play Trae Young at 9,100. That said, he's obviously got tournament upside at that price in any matchup, even in a tough one against Boston. So He's my favorite guy no matter what. Hard to get to. And then I also like Okongwu. The ownership is decent, 10%. He's coming in a little bit over-owned. Playing big minutes right now. Like, if this game is competitive, I expect him to play a ton. And I think he's at least worth looking at 5,700.
I thought I would have a lot more of a Kongwu today, and for right now, I just don't. I'm actually getting Trey, and I'm not surprised. I tend to get one of these 9K point guards every time we do one of these shows that isn't getting much ownership. Trey seems to be that guy for me today. Like I have 22% at 9. I could have just as easily had Maxey. I could have just as easily had Curry in this spot. It appears that I have Trey, and I will certainly be getting to him if we end up getting Murray out. Like Trey is just going to get enough of a bump that I'm not going to be evaluating him any differently, but ownership will certainly creep up. At that point, we're probably looking a little bit closer at like Bogdanovich at 5,700. I don't know how much DeAndre Hunter can play right now. Jalen Johnson certainly would get a little bit more of a bump. He is unowned at this moment. But for right now, I see Trey as like one of those pay up contrarian large field GPP dudes.
The thing about him that I actually like, he's my favorite of that group between Maxey, Donovan Mitchell, Steph. He's the cheapest. So that's all it takes for me to like him better than those other guys when they're all pretty close.
It certainly helps to know that Drew Holiday will not be playing for the Boston Celtics on the opposite side, because if you're ever going to have a guard out there, it'd be nice to not have both he and Derek White out there ruining everybody's life. So for those that don't know, Drew Holiday. Oh, there's my Siri right on cue. For those that don't know, Drew Holiday not going to be playing for the Boston Celtics tonight. He is officially out with right elbow sprain. We had 12% ownership coming into Porzingis and Tatum, around 5 to 10 on White and Brown. Those guys will probably incrementally go up a hair. What do you like here from Boston? Because obviously the spot is great. Do you like those other 4 dudes? Does this open up a Peyton Pritchard for you in any way? What are you doing here?
It could. I don't want to say the problem with Boston. There are no really spend-up options on this slate. Sabonis is the only guy above 10K. So those cheap guys that you might look at, like a Peyton Pritchard, sure, I don't hate them here, but just not sure they're needed. On the same token, though, it makes a guy like Tatum look really, really good. And our Boom Bust tool is showing that. 3rd overall. He usually doesn't get that high. 9,600 priced appropriately. Good upside in this spot. This is one where, like, if I'm playing Trae Young, I do have a little more interest in Tatum just because, big spread here. You obviously expect if Trae Young is good and this game's competitive, Tatum is playing well as well. So he's my favorite piece by far. I like Porzingis. I think he's fairly priced also. All these guys look similar to me at their price points, respectively. And the ownership and optimal percentages are bearing that out.
I had 14% Tatum before the holiday news. I had 12% Porzingis. Is basically right on the ownership numbers. Actually, I had 12% of Drew Holiday and 4% Peyton Pritchard. So I assume I'm going to continue to get somewhere in that 10 to 15 range on most of the main Boston dudes. And that works for me. 28th in defense. That would be Atlanta. 5th in pace. Anything else for Boston? They're like a pretty easy team to break down, right? Unless you've got like some incredible Luke Cornett hot take that isn't going to exist much longer now that Tillman's here.
I have no hot takes, although does Lamar Stevens being gone do anything for you?
I can't believe that that we ended up seeing Brad Stevens trade his son away.
Yeah. They look a lot alike.
The uncanny resemblance. The San Antonio Spurs are 8-point underdogs in Miami, 227 total. 23% ownership coming into Wemby, around 10 for Devin Vassell, Jeremy Sohan, and Trey Jones. Let's start with the big man, Victor Wembanyama. How you feeling?
I mean, I don't think there's a slate recently at all that I haven't felt good about Wemby. Our tools love him. He's always a little bit higher owned than we have him projected for, at least usually. Don't know if I see that tonight, though. Tough spot in Miami. There's other good options priced around him. I like Wemby. This might be a spot I don't get to him. It's obviously not a great spot in Miami against Miami, but at 8,800, he's always going to be in play. Tonight's no exception. Is he a priority for you?
I have 12%, so I'm under the field. I kind of agree a little bit with our negative leverage. I just worry that I don't think he's going to be getting like 33 or 34 minutes. So I just worry that he just sort of runs into a wall at 30, which is okay. I mean, when you can score 2 fantasy points per minute, like you can just have 60 fantasy points in 30 minutes and be amazing. And at that point, you wish that you had him. But I don't want to go crazy if he's already 23% owned. That's a quarter of the lineups. That's more than I need for a guy that I don't think has as big of a right tail as he normally would, because I think his playing time is mildly limited. He just kind of freezes up at 29, 30, 30 and a half, somewhere in that neighborhood. I'd be shocked if he played like 33. And in those cases, I tend to be like a minute more pessimistic. I'm a fantasy point behind where we are. We have him with a little bit of negative leverage. I think that just turns up a little bit more for me, but still 12%. He's my most exposed Spur.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that makes sense. And I'm with you. Like the minutes are capped, obviously. And in a really good spot, I can talk myself into overcoming that. But in Miami, like you just need a lot of things to break right for him to kill you at 8,800 if you don't have him. So I think we see that pretty much eye to eye. The rest of San Antonio looks bad in my eyes.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan at that point. I do actually, I don't mind Devin Vassell. Point guard, shooting guard, 6,700. If this game's competitive, he's the like second best player on the Spurs. I'd be more than fine to get there. And we have him 12.7% optimal. So that looks fine to me. No priority, just a guy that's in my lineups. I don't have any Trey Jones. He's okay. I don't really have any Jeremy Sohan. He's okay. To me, this is Vassell and Wemby.
Same.
Right. And I expect Bam to enjoy his matchup against Wemby. Not that I have a ton. I do have a ton of this Miami team, though, depending on who we're talking about. We've got around 10% ownership to Bam, to Jimmy, to Tyler Hero. We've got 20 to newly minted Heat dude Terry Rozier. And then we have 45 going to Caleb Martin, who made his way into the starting lineup yesterday. I have 76. So team Caleb Martin from a value perspective. But what do you like here from Miami? Because they're in an amazing spot. And I think the 5 guys that we have mentioned look pretty good.
I like everything in order. I think number 1 is Bam for me. I love this spot for Bam. Yeah. 8K, very affordable. I think he smashes here. The last time we said that, I know you liked him as a contrarian option and ended up not getting to him. I can't remember what news came out, and he went nuts. Really like Bam here. Caleb Martin at 3,800, great spot, under 4K. I think you mentioned this to me weeks ago at this point when Miami was on a slate, and you were like, man, remember Caleb Martin during that playoff series? Like, just go, or the playoff run, just turning into a completely different guy. He's got that in him. Such a good spot. He's too cheap. So Bam, then him, then Rozier. He's also too. Miami is priced really well for this spot. So I don't think you're making a mistake getting too much Miami here.
I've got a bunch of Terry Rozier now. I still have Tyler Hero. I'm over the field on Jimmy Butler. I'm neutral on Bam. And then, I've got the big stand on Caleb Martin. But I think those 5 guys look fantastic against San Antonio. And I'm happy that I have enough Wemby and enough Vassell that, like, I'm getting some shares of the San Antonio side.
Sure. I don't think you need it at all unless you're playing, like, a bunch of Heat, though. Like, no. I would be surprised if at least a couple Miami guys don't get there.
Yeah, the Caleb Martin piece in particular. I mean, we're talking about a dude that if he gets to 30 fantasy points, you have to have him today, given his ownership. So that's a pretty low bar for a guy that I'm expecting to play like 28 minutes.
Yeah, I think that him, Trey Lyles, and I guess Peyton Pritchard now with Holiday out. I poo-pooed him a little bit ago, but I kind of forgot for a second that Holiday was out. He's only 3,500. Between those 3 guys, like, I would expect at least one of them to put up a score you need.
Anything else for Miami?
No, I mean, we talked about 5 deep for Miami. I think that's pretty much it.
Y'all are doing good. 380 likes. Keep that number running. Hit that thumbs up. 6.5 point dogs. That would be the Pelicans. 10 p.m. start here. Taking on the Clippers. 231 total. Not a lot to like on the surface for New Orleans, but we do have the Q tag on Najee Marshall and the Q tag on Zion hanging out there. So if we lose Zion, we're going to like the Pelicans a little bit more. Single-digit ownership to everybody on the team. We do have slightly double-digit optimal rates to Trey Murphy and to Herb Jones. But if everybody is in, are you interested in the Pelicans?
No. their main guys are like Brandon Ingram, certainly always in play. Becomes a priority type play if Zion is out. I kind of expect Zion to play here. It's just a gut call.
Same.
I really don't know one way or the other, but seems like he's played. New Orleans does not look good here, except for the couple of value guys you mentioned coming in with positive leverage. This is one, though, like the case for getting to New Orleans in my mind is the potential for guys to be out.
I have very limited amounts of New Orleans right now, 6% of Herb Jones. What do you have your eye on if Zion ends up out? Because you're obviously giving a bump to Ingram. You're giving that bump to CJ. You probably see Trey Murphy move into the starting lineup. Is Murphy the first guy you want, or are you trying to get to the stars?
Honestly, like, I think everyone gets a bump, but they're also priced up from where they have been. So I always like Ingram a lot. When Zion's out, he moves into that close to priority range. I don't think you have to roster him on this slate, even if Zion's out. Murphy
Yeah.
looks good, but they're pretty healthy. Like, obviously, if Zion's out, he's out. But in the past, they've been missing like a bunch of guys where a guy like Najee Marshall might be in play. I don't really see that tonight. Do you?
Not really. Like, will I like Brandon Ingram a little bit more? Yeah. Will I like CJ McCollum a little bit more? Yeah. Trey Murphy probably becomes the guy I'm more interested in. If you get him to like 28 or 29 minutes, 4,500 shooting guard, small forward, we don't have a ton of dudes at the bottom that are
Right.
really interesting today. And you start looking in that range. We've got 35% ownership coming into Kevin Herter right now, 18 to a $4,800 Harrison Barnes. We've got 30 coming into a $4,400 Asar Thompson, Martin at 3,800. I think you then start to see Trey Murphy as like a 15 to 20 guy at that point, but not anybody you're going out of your way to get, but you just he starts playing his way into lineups because of his positionality.
I think this is one where I'll mostly let the tools do the work if Zion happens to be out. And I will say, like, it's not going to be that hard to get to them because you'll probably have at least some of the Sacramento Detroit game.
Yeah, that's an understatement. I have 224% of Sacramento right now, which is a little bit more than the 160% of ownership, but they are the most owned team. We can go through the Clippers pretty quickly here. Harden's 5% owned. Kawhi is basically 5% owned. I have 10 and 15 of the two of them. Everybody's healthy. No one else is getting any love. The highest optimal rate other than Kawhi at 7% is 4.1 to Paul George. I don't see much for the Clippers.
I don't either. This should be a really good game to watch, but not great
Yeah.
from a DFS perspective.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add. I like Kawhi and James Harden as like GPP pivots, but there is not a
Always.
single priority for the Clippers today.
Man, Kawhi is playing unreal right now. Like,
He
not
really
even
is.
from a
It's nice to
DFS
see.
perspective. It is. He's so fun to watch when he's playing like this, and you feel kind of robbed of it because he's hurt so much, but he
Yeah.
is playing amazing.
Birdie is the promo code, folks. Do you like PGA DFS? If you do, there should be a link in the description of this video. You could use that promo code Birdie, get 25% off your first payment of any PGA DFS package. If you want the Sims, it's 25% off. If you're only looking for the lineup generator, it's also 25% off. Big tournament kicking off tomorrow. Waste Management. Don't want to miss it. If you're looking to get in on the PGA side, this will be the best way that you do it. BIRDIE. Birdie is the promo code, 25% off any PGA DFS package. Let us close this out now with just a lovely game between the Detroit Pistons and the Sacramento Kings. Monty Morris no longer on the Pistons. Kevin Knox no longer on the Pistons. The assumption appears to be a little bit of a bump 2 minutes for Asar Thompson. 31% ownership coming in now for Asar, 4,400 small forward, power forward. We have him in at 23 minutes, a little bit of negative leverage, but still 25% optimal. We also have the complicating factor of a Q tag on Bojan Bogdanovic and a Q tag on Cade Cunningham. So how do you feel about Asar? And then do you have anything else that you could add with these Q tags? Because they're kind of a hard team to talk about.
Yeah, I don't. The only thing I can really talk about is Asar, and I love him here. Like,
Yeah.
I understand Caleb Martin is 600 cheaper. And I also will be playing Caleb Martin. So let me just throw that out there. I don't think that Asar Thompson should be less owned. And our tools clearly say that that shouldn't be the case. Thompson's got a 30% chance, 31% chance of being optimal. Martin, 24% chance. The ownership is in favor of Martin, where he's getting 40, Thompson's getting 30. I prefer Thompson there. I think he's the best value play on the slate. He's already, firmly in the rotation, getting decent minutes right now. No Knox and now no Morris. No matter how this game plays out, I think that he's the best value play on the slate. He's just not quite as cheap as Martin, but I don't know how much that matters. So give me all the Asar. So I think he looks great here. And then everything else is just a trickle down effect of depending on who's in or out.
Yeah, it's hard to dig in further for Cade and Boyan being out. If one of them's out, you are freeing up something. If two of them are out, you're freeing up a lot of somethings. But I think regardless of that fact, we got 26 minutes out of Asar Thompson in 2 games ago. We got 27 in the most recent game, and we just freed up 25 minutes in the rotation by shipping 2 dudes out today. At the very least, I expect him to maintain those 26, at which point, around 0.9 fantasy points per minute, he becomes a very nice value option. After that, make sure you're around before, in that 9:30 to 10 o'clock window to find out what's going on for Cade and for Boyan. But the Sacramento side, to me, is actually really easy to talk about because the whole damn team looks exceptional against the Pistons because Detroit sucks. They're 29th in defense. They're 10th in pace. You've got 7 guys, 10% more, or owned at least 10%. 6 of those guys are at 18% or higher. It's 20 to Fox, Sabonis, Lyles. We've got 10 to Keegan Murray, 30 to Monk, 35 to Herter. I don't know what else to do here. I have every one of these guys either at the field or over the field. This is clearly, to me, the best team you can get to.
Yeah, same. It also gives you exposure to get to Detroit guys if Cunningham and Bogdanovich are out, which obviously I think Ivy would look amazing then, if Detroit can play competently at all here.
Yeah.
Sacramento looks great. They're underpriced for this spot. It seems like their prices have all gone down except for maybe Sabonis's, who has remained flat. Fox, low 8K range, looks amazing. I know his production hasn't been as good recently, but
yeah,
he's still too cheap for this spot for his season-long production, all the above. Kevin Herter, same thing. I think that an interesting pivot is Malik Monk, who's now all of a sudden only 400 more expensive. One of those guys is going to play a ton. Maybe they both do. Probably only one of them does. Sacramento just looks great here. And then Lyles at 3,200. He's just not a $3,200 player. He's not great, but he's a 4K player. And he's, you're getting 25%, off that pretty much. So he looks, you can make the case that he's the best value play on the slate.
Yeah, that price tag is really hard to get away from. I got 34% of him right now, well over the field, 42% of Monk, 44 of Herter, 52 of De'Aaron Fox. That $8,100 price tag is just, I'm eating that one up big time. And then neutral to Sabonis, neutral to the Barnacle of the Bay, neutral to Keegan Murray. All these dudes that play 20 minutes a night are fantastic. The real benefit here, I'm thrilled to load up all of this ownership on Sacramento because no matter how the Pelicans news breaks, how the Pistons news breaks, I have a ton of exposure to move things around on the late night for my late swaps. And I think that is a major, major benefit to getting to Sacramento.
Same. I'm cautious on the Detroit guys playing now. I didn't even look at this earlier, but they play Portland tomorrow. And I wouldn't care at all, especially the front end of a back-to-back. But I doubt they play both ends of it. And Portland is a much more winnable game for them than in Sacramento.
Yeah, you would think the Pistons would want to lose today and tomorrow, but they don't. They're dumb. So they're going to try to win both of those games. Yeah. So maybe they do fire a few extra bullets at the Blazers tomorrow.
Because I really like that first game we talked about, Charlotte-Toronto. And all of a sudden, if you get those guys in for Detroit, nothing looks great from Detroit except for Asar Thompson.
Yep. Yeah, you get Zion in New Orleans, and you don't really have all that much interesting stuff for the Pels and the Clippers. It's just Sacramento. So maybe locking that down early is the ticket. We're also going to have potentially some really interesting value on Philadelphia. Anything else you want to add before we get out of here? That's another hour down.
No, fun slate. Kind of a different slate than we've had recently, which I like. Philly is the common denominator from those recent slates, but other than that, it's a little bit different.
There we go, folks. Live Before Lock coming up next. For those of you that hit the like button, you will get to see that show. If you don't, then you won't. But stay right on this stream for the show. Shout out Bet365 for being the sponsor. Shout out to Jordan for being the producer. We'll talk to you guys later. Good luck tonight.
We're back. Another edition of the Stochastic Hall of Fame with a Millie Maker win this week. And all you got to do to get involved, get up here, inducted into the Hall of Fame yourself, and get a free month of any Stochastic package of your choosing up to $200 value is download the Stochastic profile picture at stochastic.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at Stochastic HOF. As long as you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, doesn't matter how much you win or how much it was to enter. You are locked into the Hall of Fame, locked into a $200 package over at stochastic.com. And let's kick it off with a big one. It's our own Steve Buzzard. The Sims were on fire this week. Thankfully, Purdy decided not to run back any further on that final play. This is fitting, given that Steve Buzzard was integral in creating the Sims tool that we have and he used to win a millie. Also, one of the craziest ways to win a millie on a negative 3-yard kneel down for Brock Purdy at the end of that game. Steve winning by 0.1 in the millie. And next up, another big one. We've got JK. Thanks for the content. If only Clay would have hit one more 3 before fouling out, we could have had all the glory. Still, $20,000 win, second place for Skull Crusher. Ain't bad. Brett Shoup, another Hall of Fame jacket. Shout out to all the guys on the strategy show, Deeper Dive, and Live Before Locks. Sim City, baby. $5,000, second place for Brett. And Germ, just a simple at Stochastic HOF, $20,000 in the fadeaway, followed by Adam. Been a huge fan of Stochastic, recently got the Sims package, took down the 60K 4-point play last night with the tool. Stochastic, best in the business. Thanks, man. Congratulations. And Namdi, back on fire, second place in the 7.5K mini max. Shout out to Namdi. We've seen him a few times recently. John Good, been a Stochastic member for a long time, finally decided to try the Sims tool, and this happened on the first night using it. Best in the biz, fellas. Fantastic addition to the community. Second place with the avatar. Lil Soupy, first place with the avatar as well. Makes it feel good. Thanks, Stochastic. Your pre-lock streams are incredible. From Julian, $500, second place. Rocking the avatar himself. And Mr. Tachyon? Yeah, Jordan, is that right? All right. $1,500. Forgot to post this earlier, but thank you for your NBA DFS tool. Congrats, man. Followed by Taryn at Stochastic Hall of Fame, $750, first place in the 15K fadeaway. Andrew, first week with the Sims package, and it's already paid for itself. Yep, they got night slates too. Yes, we do. $600, second place in the end one. And Humble Soul, $230, chopping third there. Oh, look at that. First place, $3,500. Another Stochastic avatar. Matt, big night the other night. Shout out to the great content. $1,500 for Matt as well. And then you've got Crypto Colazzo, $150 and $250 in the hot shot and the high five. Johnny B decided to tail Eric on the Hardman play. Really paid off. Want to give the NBA Sims Max package a go. You got it, brother. Yeah, thanks, guys. And Alex took down the piggy bank on FanDuel. Couldn't do it without the best tools and expert analysis. And finally, Jenny, very in-depth analysis, $125 in the 1-800-Flowers series over there on DraftKings. Shout out to all you guys. Welcome to the Hall of Fame. You've now been inducted. Welcome back. If you've been here before, go grab those free months. Email us at support@stochastic.com and get playing on the Sims, lineup generator, whatever it may be. And if you're not rocking the avatar yet, stochastic.com/avatar.
I like the way you do it, like star.
Yeah. I like how Jordan's warning us as if like, oh no, they're going to hear us talking about golf. What is happening, everybody? Welcome to the Stochastic NBA Live Before Lock show. And I don't know why. It feels like it's been forever since Eric and I have done a show together. That's clearly not the case. It just feels like it's been a very long time. So do us favors, you come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Extra likes for Eric. Hit the button, I would say twice, but that would actually like it and unlike it. So here's what we do. Hit the like button 3 times, like it, unlike it, and like it again. And that will really make Eric feel good about his day and what it is that we're working towards on this NBA Live Before Lock show. So also, guys, if you're in our Discord channel, at me during the course of the show, I'll be answering your questions. If you got super chats, we'll be answering all of those. Eric, what's happening, my man?
Not much. Just ready to rock for another NBA slate. We got a lot of news. This is like the perfect slate for me because people don't know. I do a video that I end up working on till about 6:30, 7 o'clock every single night. So like, I'm going to be by my computer anyway. I'm going to be working on tomorrow's games. And so for me, this is like truly the ideal possible NBA slate to have on any given night. So a 7-gamer, 2.5 hours in between to get everything done and allow for late swapping. Going to be a good one, I think.
Yeah. And to people in the chat, just dealing with some personal stuff. I was so sorry I was gone, but not a big deal. We're back in action, ready to people like free. I take 1 day off. I work 7 days a week. Yep. I take 1 day, and people are like, where are you? It's like, hey, every once in a while, I've got stuff to do. Every once in a while, not that frequently, but very occasionally, stuff does end up happening here. And let's get into your guys' super chats. So we're already starting to fill up the YouTubes here. We got a couple of them right here, and one is from Jamal Parker. He's asking, and I assume this is a lineup generator question based on the way he's framed it. He's asking, do we want to be contrarian, balanced, or chalky tonight? And as far as the lineup generator settings go, Eric?
I would be looking at going contrarian most of the time when you're playing the largest field GPPs. We're talking 20,000 plus entries over on DK and FanDuel. I would be looking at going to the contrarian one because, again, it's still curated by the Sims tool. These are still like the top ROI lineups that you're looking at here. And you probably don't want to get in the habit of going to just straight off chalk and having everything make sense there. There are going to be certain slates where the chalk is so good that you almost want to like build them in and then you can kind of go by hand, especially for 20 max on the lineup generator, change them out, kind of make your own swaps there. But strongly recommend going to the contrarian setting and letting it ride today.
My preference is to go towards the balance setting. So the different ways that I like to approach it, if I was using the lineup generator, I use our Sims tool, but every once in a while I play around with the lineup generator. I check out the different lineups. Here's what I generally think. On smaller slates, we're talking like 2, 3, 4 games, I prefer the contrarian setting. If we're talking about more mid-range slates in terms of the number of games, so if we're looking at, like 5, 6, 7, 8 games, then I like more of the balance setting. And then when you get into like the massive slates, which don't really exist anymore, the way that they're broken up, but like the 11, 12 game slates, then I prefer more of the chalky build because then you're just going to get the best points per dollar plays. And it's not like on 12 game slates, you're typically going to see guys who are projected for, like 40 or 50% ownership or anything like that. So for today, my preference, Jamal, is to go with the balance setting. And also, if anybody else wants to sign up for the NBA lineup trader, use the link that we have below in the description box. Not only is it going to build lineups for you, it has our player projections in there, it has our ownership projections, and you get access to the Discord channel. You can ask us questions whenever you guys want. Phil Senzig is saying, more chingy. Did I miss something? Or did I say something I wasn't supposed to?
That is what I was singing. Yeah, there you are.
Oh, all right. So we want some more chingy.
More rapping from Eric.
Yeah,
I believe
so this
is what he's saying.
I read this. I was very concerned at first. I was like, is this a slur? Because it sounds very inappropriate. But Eric, what were you saying at the top of the show? I don't even remember anymore.
I don't know. I just sing a lot. Usually just whatever comes to my brain. I have musical Tourette's. That's probably the best way to describe it.
I'm not a player. I just sing a lot. All right. So Phil Senzig wants to know, whoa. Is this when did this happen in YouTube? You could do a thumbs up to super chats now?
You were gone for 1 day and everything's changed. It literally was that way yesterday. God. I know. What's it like to suck, Greg?
This is why I can't take days off for any reason, no matter what it is. If I'm diagnosed with a terrible illness, I still have to show up because or else you miss out on big updates like a thumbs up button being added to the YouTube here. So Phil Senzig is asking us, Eric, who's the lotion play of the night?
It's gonna put the lotion on the skin. Who is gonna to do that? Who's going to put a lot of lotion? I feel like Trae Young's going to put a lot of lotion on the skin once DeJounte Murray gets ruled out. I'm pretty positive DeJounte Murray is not playing basketball today because they don't want to risk him getting hurt.
So do you think that him being on the injury report is related to him potentially being traded at the deadline, or he's actually hurt, or a combination of the two?
It is definitely not a combination of the two. He's just being held out because they will make up anything. They will say there is a tumor growing out of your you-know-what in order to not have him play basketball today, because if he gets hurt, that is a big deal to trade implications.
So with that in mind, how are you looking at the Atlanta Hawks then? Well,
I have so much Bogdanovich in my lineups right now.
Okay.
Just an unbelievable amount. 5,700. Right now, you wouldn't want to probably get there in any way, shape, or form. I'm assuming that he ends up starting in the event that all is good there. There is a case to be made where they could go to DeAndre Hunter, but I mean, I think DeAndre Hunter, they want to keep limiting the minutes. I think he just continues to come off the bench, play 20 minutes, and basically move on with his life. I think Bogdanovich, another guy who's rumored to go to my Minnesota Timberwolves, although we went and got Monty Morris today, so maybe, I don't know. I don't think they're done trying to move things around, but Bogdanovich goes from 26 minutes, and I think he would get the biggest bump. I think he's the most likely starter in that grouping, so could end up being really, really, really fun to be playing him if that news comes out as late as possible.
And then we got a question here from Clyde related to what you said before. He wants to know, Eric, do you know something or are you speculating? I think he's speculating based on good circumstantial evidence.
There you go.
Yeah, this isn't like the head trainer, the GM texted Eric and was like, hey, guess what? DeJounte Murray getting traded. There was probably my favorite one that came out today of players who could potentially be traded was the minor procedure that D'Angelo Russell underwent that was going to hold him out for one game. That was a little silly to see pop up, but that aside, Clyde, yeah, I think that Eric would agree with me. Not that he's taking an educated guess. I don't think that Eric would say it's impossible for DeJounte Murray to play today. He's going to be a game time decision, though.
I'm going to say more than likely doesn't play basketball. There you are.
More than likely doesn't play, according to Eric Lindquist.
Me, and not my sources. I have no sources for this one. I've had sources for other things, but not for this one.
Yeah, ones that we thought that we could be clever with, like the PGA the other day, and it was close. It was close, no downside, so no harm.
No downside.
But I thought we had a chance for glory, and now it ended up being fairly controversial online as well, with books voiding bets for the golf tournament last week. But neither here nor there. Let's see what else we have here. Ace of Spade wants to know our favorite options for DK tiers. Eric, my friend, do you have lineups built for tiers, or do you want me to run through it?
Of course I do.
All right, tier 1, Domantas Sabonis for me.
Domantas Sabonis.
Also, so I didn't play yesterday's NBA slate, but 2 days ago, it looked like Sabonis was going to totally wreck the slate. He had like 37 fantasy points at the end of the first quarter. 60. It was fine, but it wasn't like he was needed. When he had 37 or whatever it was at the end of the first quarter, it seemed like he was absolutely going to be necessary, and then it ended up not really being the case. But anyway.
It's so necessary.
Good Sabonis in tier 1. Tier 2. This is an interesting one to me. We've got Steph Curry, we've got Tyrese Maxey, we've got Kawhi Leonard, James Harden. I find it to be very close between Steph Curry and Tyrese Maxey, but I definitely some reservations about the illness that we have Tyrese Maxey dealing with, because even if he plays, it's hard for me to know if he's going to be totally 100% or not. He missed shoot around earlier. So I am going to go with Steph Curry for tier 2.
Steph Curry too.
All right. Tier 3. That is
Wemby, moving on.
You're even over Trae Young with your assumption that DeJounte's out?
Oh, sorry. I just made these like an hour ago. So there you go. Victor Wembanyama right now. Trae Young, if he's ruled out, yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's going to be Wemby for me either way. I'm a big Wemby guy. I think people know that by now. But another part of this too is that I'm maybe a little bit less convinced than you are that DeJounte Murray's for sure going to sit. I think it's probably the most likely outcome, but I'm not quite.
That's what I'm getting at. I feel pretty good that DeJounte Murray sits.
Tier 4, that is currently De'Aaron Fox for me, but it would be Tobias Harris if Tyrese Maxey's ruled out.
Correct.
Tier 5, I'm going to go Jared Allen.
Jared Allen.
And then finally in tier 6, where we have a lot of guys. This is a difficult tier to parse, in my opinion. Zion Williamson, Emmanuel Quickley, Brandon Miller are all extremely similar options. I'm going to go towards Brandon Miller for this tier, but you can make a strong case for Quickley or for Zion.
Why would you not play Zion and then take the information from Miller and Quickley, who are going to be more popular? I would play Zion, and then you would have CJ McCollum, who would be around 40 fantasy points or 38 fantasy points with Zion out. You could go to J-Val as a contrarian piece. I love what Brandon Miller's been doing in terms of usage, nearly a 32% usage over the last week, like a 62% true shooting percentage. But those are also unsustainable numbers when you're now the focal point of an offense and will be, especially if they move Miles Bridges. So I am for Zion here in this spot. Although, again, if you want to play Brandon Miller, he's currently the highest projected.
All right, we're getting oh my God, is this a golf question? We've got a golf question from Anthony Miscelli. So, by the way, guys, if you aren't aware, we've got a promo going on for the PGA season, which even though golf season technically is kind of throughout the year and it doesn't really stop, this is the real start of the higher end golf tournaments. We're seeing much bigger prizes on DraftKings. And for that, we do have a promo going on for the PGA season. If you sign up for any of our PGA packages using the promo code Birdie, get yourself 25% off. So you want to sign up for the lineup generator package? 25% off, Eric. You want to sign up for the PGA Sims base package? That's 25% off, Eric. If you want to sign up for the PGA Sims Max package, that's also 25% off, Eric. So all you guys have to do, sign up using one of the links that we have below in the description box. The promo code's already loaded into that. It's going to get you the 25% off. And also, you get access to our Discord channel. So our Discord channel, if you ever want to ask PGA questions to Ben Raza or Eric Lindquist, utilize our Discord channel for that and get access whenever you sign up for any package here at Stokastic. But first, Anthony is asking us for a DraftKings NBA question. And then, Eric, I want you to think about this. He wants to know your PGA nuke of the night. It's really the nuke of the morning, though, is it not?
Yeah, I guess nuke of the Thursday morning. I'll get that one out of the way quick because it's pretty easy for me. Okay. I'm in love with getting to Emiliano Grillo. If you're going to be playing PGA DFS this week, 7,500. I bet him as the top South American, plus 120. That's just a ridiculous bet considering Echeverria, Johnny Vegas's form. He's missed 3 straight consecutive cuts, but Emiliano Grillo, this is a guy who's had 3 consecutive top 25s to start off the season, and the putter has flipped over the last year. And that is such a big deal for Emiliano Grillo. You go back through some of his appearances here, they haven't been that stellar, but he is a great driver of the golf ball. He is a guy also that if this putter maintains, you go through his stats at TPC Scottsdale, it is not pretty watching the putter. So if that part of his golf game is flipped, he's sub 8%, 7,500, absolutely nuking it this week.
I haven't seen a putter that good since Drake's.
Oh my God.
So also, are you aware of the Drake thing?
I don't want to talk about Drake or Taylor Swift. And this is ironic because I'm generally the person who sings, but I have no desire to talk about either of those people when we're
No, we're not going to talk about Drake himself, only his penis. So Drake, it has come to my attention, leaked his penis on the internet. I have a conspiracy theory.
Go ahead.
Ready for You seem very enthusiastic about this, which only makes me want to extend this more. I think he did it on purpose and then deleted it, and it's a publicity ploy.
It's like Tiger. Tiger did the same thing. Dude's absolutely, he's carrying a driver in his pocket. Like, I mean, whatever.
I think he banged all those hookers, Hooters, waitresses, all as a publicity ploy. I think that's all he got.
Did he used to call them on his cell phone late night when he needed love?
I believe he did. Hotline
I
bling.
bet when that hotline bling, that could only mean one thing.
I'm pretty sold on this, by the way, that this is the real thing, my conspiracy theory. Anyway, the other part of Anthony's question wants to know where our favorite plays are. Each position for DraftKings single entry. So let's go through this. Starting at point guard, Eric, that is going to be De'Aaron Fox for me.
De'Aaron Fox.
Shooting guard for me, that is going to be Terry Rozier. I think this is the best buy low spot for Rozier. Earlier in the day, he was projected for a lot of ownership. That's come down a little bit. And it's not like he's not popular. He's projected for 21% ownership. But I think there's a lot of upside here in Terry Rozier. Good matchup for him against the Spurs. And also, a couple of games ago, we did see the minutes really show a ceiling for Terry Rozier. 2 games ago, 38 minutes for Rozier. For the longest time, we saw him playing 27, 29 minutes for the Heat. I think there's a real chance that going forward in competitive games, we regularly end up seeing mid to high 30s minutes for Terry Rozier. I know that he's been absolute dog shit so far with the Miami Heat, but he's priced for it at this point. He's all the way down to $6,000. Give me Terry Rozier shooting guard.
Bogdanovich.
All right. Small forward, that is Azir Thompson for me.
Sir Thompson, not close.
Power forward, that is going to be Caleb Martin for me. I view Caleb Martin as being the best cheap option on the slate right now. The reason being is that Caleb Martin looks to be starting, and Haywood Highsmith, he got the old heave-ho by the Heat out of their starting lineup. So Caleb Martin, I think he's going to be starting and should play pretty healthy minutes as a starter, and he's very cheap.
I have more Tobias Harris. I'm underneath on Caleb Martin. Tobias Harris, and that is before Tyrese Maxey. I haven't done anything with him yet. So if Tyrese Maxey's out, it will be definitely Tobias Harris. Right now, it is just slightly Tobias Harris.
And then center, how could it be anybody other than my guy Wemby?
I mean, there are a lot of other people it could be.
I know
there are,
but it's
about 25 other
Wemby
people it could be.
It is.
Okay, good talk. Jared Allen for me.
All right. Let's see what else we have. The next super chat here is from Sean Jeezy. So our guy Sean Jeezy saying, G. Ehrenberg, E. Lindy 4, and Sean Jeezy going to finish 1, 2, 3 tonight. Order to be determined. Wait. Good luck, guys. Looking forward to the show. As long as it is in the order that you put in the super chat, I'm happy with it, Sean. At least as long as I'm first, second, third, we can quibble about whether that order matters or not. But my name was listed first. That's where I would like to finish in GPPs tonight. Patrick Rose.
I'll take third.
Third also isn't bad. To be honest,
I heard 10 grand. It's the Kevin Kistner comment going back to golf for the people. They pay a lot of money at these tournaments for 10th.
It's a good. I know they say that if you don't finish first, you finish last. But I don't know. I look at some of those like, hey, 27th at a PGA event.
Hell, Ricky, I was high when I said that. There's lots of other things you could be. You could be third or fifth, or hell, you could be 15th. They pay good money for that.
I mean, yeah, you could make like what, $150,000 finishing 22nd or something like that. It might even be more.
Oh, so check this out. So Nick Dunlap, the kid who won at the American Express, he's the first amateur to win since Phil Mickelson. Incredible stuff. Okay. He won $0 for that. He finished dead last, shot $1 million over at Pebble Beach, made $40K.
He should have done those in reverse.
That would have been a great idea.
Yeah, he should have come in last. He should have come in last when he was an amateur, and then you come in first after you take up the pro card there. That would have been a better strategy.
Would have been a good idea. Would have been a good idea.
This is what he needs, an advisor like myself on his team. Patrick Rose, Eric, thanks again for the Thomas versus Middleton question last night. Okay. So you did something well for him.
One thing that I did correct because I got obliterated, obviously.
And then let's see, what does he have? Okay, so and now for tonight, he's saying Mitchell or Jared Allen on FanDuel. I mean, these guys are
love them both. Love them both. I love Cleveland as a contrarian team. Like, I love them both.
I'm trying to figure out the scenario where he's trying to contemplate between Donovan Mitchell or Jared Allen, though, because it's FanDuel and they're very different positions. Maybe he's playing a single game slate. Is there a single game slate for that?
Oh, no. Those are really the only two players that you're going to roster on DraftKings because of the minutes. It's diluted between LeVert, Niang, Strus, and then Garland's still too expensive, even though I do have him at a higher minutes limit than what everybody in the industry has had the last two games. And it hasn't mattered because they keep making him 7K and it just doesn't even matter. But on FanDuel, I'm pulling up Allen, 8,200, and Mitchell, 10-4. Yeah, a little bit different. It's definitely Allen for me over on FanDuel.
Yeah, it's Jared Allen for me. I don't really get myself to Donovan Mitchell on FanDuel. So between the two of them, I'm going to go with Jared Allen. And then we got Jamal Parker says, thanks to you and Eric. I came in for and made a little change. Like it couldn't have been due to me. I wasn't here last night. You could give me credit. I won't take it though. I'm going to pass it on to Eric because I wasn't here. He also, thanks to you and Eric, I came in, what place? It just says, came in for and made a little change. Well, Jamal Parker, congrats. Love to see they made a little change. Made a little change. Next question here is from Slayer OKZ. Says a Pritchard versus Springer and a Kongwu versus PJ, assuming that there is no Tyrese Maxey. Okay, so if we're just going to take Tyrese Maxey out of the picture. I prefer Springer to Peyton Pritchard.
I prefer Springer to Peyton Pritchard by a mile. Although, obviously, the exotic play of the night is Bogdanovich.
Oh, my God. tipping your hand here. Tipping your
Well,
hand.
that's exotic. Then we're not talking nuke of the night.
That's fair. Nuke of the night coming up shortly, by the way. 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Get those tickers going, guys, and do the countdown because 4 minutes till the nuke goes off. Yeah, so that is going to be Springer over Peyton Pritchard for me. And then he's asking Okongwu versus PJ Washington. So this part, Tyrese Maxey isn't going to matter for, but PJ Washington.
Jordan Klein, you ready? Hit the animation.
Oh my God, already?
Hit the animation. Blowing it up. Blowing up.
Well, you really want to
Here
do
we
it
go.
right now, don't you?
Well, I have to. I'm not going to talk about my nuke of the night without, getting through this. Let's go.
All right. So here we go. Nuke of the night time. Eric is so eager to tell his nuke of the night. He couldn't wait. He's telling Jordan 4 minutes in advance to play the animation.
Everybody, the trade deadline is tomorrow. I don't think that is unknown to anybody here at this point in time, but let me just tell you. There's one player on Charlotte who is not going anywhere. That's Brandon Miller. Yet he is 7,200. Can't make him the nuke of the night here in this spot. Can't really play Miles Bridges at 8,400 the same way that I want to. Maybe they try to show him out, but I think teams know what they're getting with Miles Bridges. You probably don't want to play him 40 minutes in this spot, although Charlotte is very, very stupid. It is what it is. But PJ Washington is on the fringe of greatness. He could get out of Charlotte once and for all by smashing tonight and finding some way to get this ridiculous team out of here. And I am not a narrative-based bettor compared to, what we talked about with Dorian Finney-Smith once upon a time. I'm not a narrative-based person when it comes to DFS because salary matters. But that's my point, friends. It's a $5,700 PJ Washington tonight. They have Toronto on the other side. Jakob Poeltl, yeah, it's a true center, somebody that could be out there for quite a bit, but he's not a high usage guy by any means. And that's where I do think you see PJ Washington at 5,700 try to stretch the floor, try to get to Thad Young on Toronto's bench, try to force him out onto the floor. And PJ Washington is only 5,700. I have him in for 35 minutes. He's going to smash and get himself the hell out of Charlotte. PJ Washington, your nuke of the night.
All right, it is going to be Victor Wembanyama for me, keeping my streak alive of being overweights the field on Victor Wembanyama every slate for the last month and a half or so. The guy's only treated me well, Eric. And another thing, too, is while we haven't seen the 34, 35-minute games from Wemby, and I don't expect that tonight's going to be the night either, I do think we could get to 31 minutes. I think we could get to 32 minutes. We did see him get to 31 minutes in the game last week. So as long as the game stays competitive against the Heat, I think there's probably a little bit more playing time upside that might be realized by the field when it comes to Wemby. And then something else as well. People might be looking at the spread and saying, oh, well, that game's going to be a blowout. Guess what? None of the games tonight, other than the Philly Golden State game, have a close spread at the moment. And that Philly Golden State game, if Tyrese Maxey gets rolled out, that one could also have a kind of lopsided spread there because it is the only game on the slate with a spread closer than 6 points, and it's 5 points. So you're going to have to take some chances on games that might potentially have some blowout risk tonight. Give me Wemby, who's been an excellent points per minute fantasy producer this year and only continues to improve as the year goes on. From the first game of the season until now, the two most improved players in the NBA. So not going back to last year.
Brandon Miller and Victor Wembanyama.
Yep, Brandon Miller, Victor Wembanyama. And I think that's pretty.
That's
pretty
the consensus, which is why I was able to do that in 2 seconds in my brain. Yeah.
Yeah. Easy. Let's see who we have next. Oh, see, this is why you can't tip your hand too early on the exotic play, Eric. David Eckenrode, super chat. Eric, who's the exotic play of the night? Pritchard?
No, it is Mr. Bogdan Bogdanovic once you get DeJounte Murray ruled out.
Let me see for me. I do have a follow-up question for you, though. If DeJounte Murray plays, who's your exotic play?
I hate you, Jordan Klein. I hate you. Sometimes I come to work and I think today is going to be different. Somehow, some way. Today is going to be the day that I don't have 48,000 things thrown on my plate last second, that I don't have Greg Ehrenberg in my ear saying, Eric, no, don't do that. Oh, no, Eric, you should do that. No, Eric, you should do that. No, you shouldn't do that. And then all the while, Jordan Klein just decides, you know what? I had this great idea. I'm going to throw these pictures of Eric that I know he doesn't like, that I know he doesn't enjoy, and I'm going to make sure that he sees them at the exactly inopportune time when he's trying to do his job and trying to be a professional, and I'm going to put it on the screen. God.
There's only one solution to this, and that is, Jordan, I think we should Photoshop some new pictures. And because I think that's the problem. He's tired of seeing the same picture. We need him in some new environments. We'll brainstorm this. So I am going to go exotic play adjacent for this, Eric, and that is Derek White. Does he really truly fulfill the nature of what we're looking for in the exotic play? No, but Derek White. So because he's also
that is fantastic. Okay. You won all of the exotic plays of the night from now until eternity. Derek White, that is a perfect exotic play.
Yeah, Derek White. I don't know why you think that's so funny. He's a good. If the field's going to be playing Peyton Pritchard today, I think that there's a very realistic chance with Drew Holiday being out today that Derek White steps up, has a big game, and if he does have a really good game and the game isn't a blowout, then he could eat into Peyton Pritchard's minutes. How often have we seen these games? I don't have like an issue with Peyton Pritchard. I have some exposure to him underneath the field right now, though. But how often is Peyton Pritchard a chalk option that just doesn't get the minutes that he's expecting? And I think this is one of these scenarios where we could see Derek White as a somewhat exotic play as somebody who can eat into the playing time of Peyton Pritchard for leverage.
It's like cannibalizing the other exotic play. It's beautiful.
So there we go. David, thank you very much. And I've told you guys, we need more questions about the exotic play. It always brings goodness to the channel. T22 Tokes. T22 Tokes. Let's see. There's no question here. Let me scour. Tokes. Did he leave a question? I don't see one. So if we T22 Tokes, if you have a question for us, just throw it into the YouTube channel and I'll be looking for an answer, because for right now, I don't see a question. It was just a super chat with no question attached to it. As far as some injury news that just came in, we did officially get word that Andrew Wiggins available to play, Draymond Green available to play, and we've got Daniel House out, Marcus Morris out. All right. So how could we really, they're going to give us the Daniel House news and the Marcus Morris news, but not the Tyrese Maxey news. That's what I was looking for. I'm looking for Tyrese Maxey, the one who matters the most from the 76ers.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get that update here.
That wasn't very nice of them.
No, I thought for sure it was there and I just missed it as I was scrolling.
Also, it's like this game starts so shortly that it's one of those weird things. It's like they just went out on the court and warmed up. I know it's less than an hour. So yeah, they've been warming up. You know if Tyrese Maxey is playing basketball or not. It's just some gamesmanship. And obviously they said that Draymond Green was expected to play. I was kind of expecting that news to come as soon as we got word on Maxey, because I'm sure Golden State, considering they're on the front end of a back-to-back, would like to, keep Draymond Green stashed in the event that he's actually dinged up and play him tomorrow against Indy. That game's going to be moving. So an interesting spot with so many back-to-backs here, front end of back-to-backs on this slate, that we're still waiting for Maxey, because again, they don't play tomorrow. If he's playing basketball or not tonight. Stop this.
Do you know what an oil change is?
Yes.
Okay. So somebody on Twitter is trying to tell me it is something to do with your car. That's when somebody sticks their thumb up your butt and you pay a mechanic extra for that. Right?
Yes, Greg, that is what it is.
All right, cool. All right, I won the Twitter argument that I was having here during the show. Yeah, I don't know what that guy's talking about. All right, let's go to more super chats now. And where'd it go? Tokes, here it is. I knew I saw it in here. Tokes, a lot of Vassell in the lineup generated for FanDuel tonight. I don't like the matchup for the Spurs, but how do you guys feel about Vassell tonight? So let me look at my FanDuel lineups. Here we go. I like Devin Vassell quite a bit on FanDuel. He's not my most rostered shooting guard, but relative to the other options, he is somebody who I like quite a bit, and I'm also overweight too. So Devin Vassell is projected for 18% ownership on FanDuel. In the lineups I built, I did get to 36% of Devin Vassell. And the matchup, sure, yeah, it's not ideal at all for Devin Vassell there going up against the Miami Heat. But I think you also have to consider the $7,100 price tag is not all that significant for him relative to the other options at shooting guard that we have on FanDuel today. Like, for instance, we do have Kevin Huerter is $5,700, and he is the absolute stone chalk at shooting guard on FanDuel. He's projected for 36% ownership. So by that measure, like I'd rather pay up a little bit more and get a Devin Vassell who is half the ownership of Kevin Huerter. So I do like Devin Vassell over on FanDuel. I don't know if you built out FanDuel lineups, but is he somebody you like over there?
I built one lineup like I normally do over there, just so that I have something to talk about, make sure that I'm paying attention over there. I think he's fine. I mean, Kevin Huerter's the stone chalk bowl spots, and I get it. Like that one, I understand a little bit more. Obviously, Monk is the guy I have more of an issue with, but I like Vassell a little bit more too.
And let's see what we have next from over here. The Pennzoil play of the night. I like that one. The player who's we could start doing you know what the Pennzoil play of the night is?
What?
It's the guy who's gonna screw you. It's the guy who's gonna stick it in your rear end. The Pennzoil play of the night. So
wow.
We'll think about that later.
This is a normal show we're having here right now. DeJounte Murray ruled out. It's almost like I knew. It's almost
there
like
we go. As per Eric's prediction before DeJounte Murray officially going to be ruled out. So another part of this, is he going to be traded now?
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, this was like, again, I was a little bit more confident than you. It's not like I wanted to say 100% because then you always leave room to look like an idiot. And it's not about absolutes. It's about probability. And that's the game that we play. But probabilities spoke with the trade deadline being tomorrow, that why would you ever in a million years take the guy who's been in all of these speculations and throw him out there? That would be the dumbest move ever. So Atlanta, way to finagle DeJounte Murray out of this basketball game. Well done.
On the other side, Atlanta, assuming they do make a trade, they're going to get significantly less than what they paid for DeJounte Murray. And that was a trade that they made before last season. So
see, and here's the other part of this too. It's like a year ago, there were two teams that were really spoken to be linked to DeJounte Murray. Do you remember the two teams? Obviously, Atlanta was one.
I don't remember.
The Minnesota Timberwolves, my Minnesota Timberwolves.
Oh, that is
and
right.
They went the Rudy Gobert route instead of DeJounte Murray because Atlanta was willing to throw just a little bit more in to go get DeJounte. And then we kind of quick trigger went and got Rudy Gobert, which in hindsight, looking pretty good after the first test run. They've figured things out. Obviously, you know, it helps to have, you know, everybody stay healthy. And there's been some injury stuff here in Atlanta where they haven't had like their core group. Kevin Huerter ends up getting sent off to Sacramento too. They've done some weird stuff, but overall, very, very happy with how this worked out for my Timberwolves.
Yeah, and I think one thing that people really discounted last year, not to get us too far off track, but Karl-Anthony Towns was hurt for a very, very long time with that calf injury that ended up causing him to miss. I think it was like 2 months or something off the top of my head. It looked even worse when it first happened, but that really extended layoff for Karl-Anthony Towns. I mean, it kind of screwed up the entire team. And people are like, oh my God. But part of it too is because people just hate Rudy Gobert. It's like, oh, the trade's terrible. Look, the team isn't all that great. But yeah, they're missing Karl-Anthony Towns. How many teams are going to be missing their second best player for an extended stretch of time and look, you know, totally great when that happens? And now this year, one of the best teams in the league. And also, if you remember last year, Eric, in the playoffs, we saw after the year, Denver Nuggets win the championship. What did the Nuggets say was their most difficult playoff series?
Hardest series that they played by far.
Minnesota, by far. It was the Minnesota Timberwolves. Very live this year. Very live.
But also, if you think about the path to it, I don't think anybody really believed in Miami or the Lakers. So their most difficult series was between them and who was the team that they played in between the first round and playing the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals? Was it the Warriors? No, because Warriors played oh, yep, it was. You're right, because they played Sacramento and then they played them. Yes, you're right.
All right, so we'll be having a projections update come through soon. In the interim, though, I want to walk you guys through some of the on-off court numbers for the Atlanta Hawks. So we do know officially that DeJounte Murray is not going to be traded. Not going to be playing. Speculation is that he will be traded. And if we look at some of the on-off court numbers for fantasy production, what?
You froze, but you're back. Thank God.
Okay, that's weird.
Actually, fuck. I could have been just me. That would have been great.
Did I freeze, Jordan, or was that Eric?
You froze.
Oh, okay. I'm back.
Frozen 3. It's coming out soon. Disney Plus.
So is Moana too.
Is it
Trae
really?
Young this year? 1.49 fantasy points per minute in the absence of DeJounte Murray. Massive. Behind him, Bogdan Bogdanović, your guy, your exotic play. 1.1 fantasy points per minute. And in addition to that, it's not just that he scores the 1.1 fantasy points per minute. It's also that he gets a lot more minutes in the absence of DeJounte Murray. By the way, I do want to ask you this because you had, didn't you say before you thought there was a chance that Bogdanovich could be traded to the Timberwolves?
Yes. Yeah. They were linked, and I have it on good authority from a person that I know that is something that's actually trying to get done.
Wouldn't that be a little bit odd though if they're holding DeJounte Murray out for a potential trade? They wouldn't hold out Bogdanovich?
No, because he's not getting nearly as much in return, and also the price of admission goes up with every good Bogdanovich outing. DeJounte Murray just needs to be healthy, and so it kind of works in strange, mysterious ways. Like, for whatever reason, this week before the trade deadline, it's almost like a, hey, look what our guy can do. You know, it's a new car, and it's not a new car. It's a car that you could have saw play 82 other games, but you chose this one game to evaluate them more than others. But hey, yeah, these are humans too. They can be swayed by something that might look different if you give them a different amount of run.
Yeah, so those have got to be the two guys. Trae Young, big usage uptick, 1.49 fantasy points per minute. Bogdanovich, big minutes uptick, 1.1 fantasy points per minute without DeJounte Murray. Those are the guys that stand out the most to me. When our projections get updated, which is going to be in like a minute or so, we'll throw those up on screen, Jordan.
You know what's so weird is that the guy who's third is Bruno Fernando, 20% usage with no DeJounte Murray on the floor. That's hilarious.
The problem is that he's not going to play very many minutes. Although with that said, I played him a couple nights ago and it went fairly well. On play, ended up putting up like 18 fantasy points. Yeah, it was nice. I had some live. I got some live lineups with Bruno Fernando the other night.
Guess he put up more than Cam Whitmore yesterday, so I can't make it too much fun of that. But yeah, no, I had 0 Bruno Fernando. I was like 34-14 sounds like the split. It was exactly that. Bruno Fernando's been having back spasms that he's been dealing with, so I don't think he's going to play over 16 minutes in pretty much any situation.
We've got a couple of guys here. Chris Williams gifted out 5 YouTube memberships. So Chris, thank you very much for supporting the channel. And then Jacob Dunn says, better double-double prop. Evan Mobley at plus 150 or James Harden at plus 130. I have to go towards James Harden because Mobley is going to have his minutes limited.
Yeah. The
King. We call it taking a dump when we leave it behind. All right. Always good to get other terminologies in the lexicon. Jorge Giacomi. Top 3 must-haves for a DK Max 20. Okay, so let's see. So he's playing a 20 Max tournament. Top 3 players that we must have in a 20 Max, Eric.
Asar Thompson. That's my first one. I'm underweight to Caleb Martin, but probably Caleb Martin in the pool as well. Pretty hard to get away from that. And I'm going
Trae Young.
Yeah, got to be Bogdanovich for me.
Yeah, so we've got Trae Young.
Tyrese Maxey available to play.
Okay, so Maxey is in. So that's only one thing that we're going to have to update our lineups for. Because we just got the projections update. If you wouldn't mind, Jordan, throwing this up on screen, we could show people what the projections are looking like for the Atlanta Hawks now that they've been updated. We've got Trae Young projected for north of 50 fantasy points. We've got him projected as the second highest fantasy scorer on the entire slate in Trae Young. So Trae Young at 51 fantasy points. Yeah.
I was going to have Jordan Klein. Can you pull up the new data hub that we have set up over at the Sims tool as well? Because one of the cool things now is that I'm just screwing around with the Sims tool now, but I was just double checking to see when the projections update went live. It went live and immediately getting updated in the data hub. A new screen that's going to continually get added. We are going to have the leverage. We're going to have a lot of other things that get added to this, but so quick, clean, and easy to be able to be in the Sims tool now and to be able to see the projection and ownership directly on that screen. If you go and sort by projection now, Jordan Klein, we've got Trae Young sitting at second there. Really cool feature that you can kind of see. It's a nice way of being able to look, oh, okay, this did get updated, this didn't. You can look in the top right corner where the projections get updated, what time stamp there is there. It's kind of becoming a one-stop shop for me where I don't have to go anywhere else to go look at our stuff. It gets updated directly in that data hub now.
Yeah, that was that song Outkast wrote. So fresh, so clean. It was based on, people don't know this, it was based on the data hub for our Sims tool. I know that it came out today, and the Outkast song came out something like 25 years ago, but it's only because they're visionaries. So it's definitely something I think is going to be really cool. And actually, you know what we could start doing, Jordan? Now, because there's so much data on that page, it's going to constantly be adding, like Eric mentioned. We should just start showing that as the visual on Live Before Lock. We could have that screen and we get all the different projections, ownership projections. And don't forget, guys, you want to sign up for any NBA packages, use the links that we have below. And one other piece of news I want to tell you guys, Bet365, sponsor of the show today. They've recently launched in Arizona, which is, if I'm not mistaken, where your folks are at, right, Eric?
Arizona right now, yeah. They do 6 months, 6 months. So they're in Arizona from usually December till about May, and then they get the heck about a Dodge for the summer, which is weird because normally people get down there and stay down there for, year round. But yeah, they can't do the summers there, which is ironic.
You should tell them that if they sign up at Bet365 over to Arizona now, they are going to get $150 in bonus bets.
I think they might have did that on Monday already. Somebody might have pointed them in that direction.
Did you tell them to do it using the link in the description box below?
Yeah, I was like the Kermit gif. Do it. A little bit of that.
And you guys could take advantage of that offer too, especially if you're in that Arizona area and haven't taken advantage of that sign up bonus over at Bet365. So Jorge, top 3 must-haves. Trae Young is definitely going to be one for me, and then I'll go with Azur Thompson, and I'll go Wemby as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
RADM. Can anyone enlighten me on the Azur Thompson love tonight? I don't see anyone relevant out. Doesn't the coach hate him, or is it only a price point thing? Well,
hold
price
up.
plays a role.
Yeah, price certainly plays a role. So there's 2 things. One, you have Cade Cunningham and Bojan Bogdanovic that are questionable, but that's not the deal. Yeah. You've now got Killian Hayes out of a rotation. You now have Kevin Knox traded. You also have, another guy that was never going to play for them, Monty Morris, though. He's going to get traded at this point. So really the main thing is Kevin Knox goes from somebody who had been like a pseudo starter, one of those make-believe starters who plays 13, 14 minutes. Those minutes are assumed to go directly to the rookie, Azur Thompson. And if you get Bogdanovic out, he's almost guaranteed to start in that spot. So there's a lot of love you should have towards Detroit right now. You're going to get to some Sacramento pieces, which makes sense. And for me, I'm not even having to factor in late swap that much because of the diluted nature of how many Sacramento Kings I'm getting to. I don't even have to try, and I'm going to have swappability for the evening based on the Zion Williamson news, based on the other 2 pieces of news. But there's no doubt that Azur Thompson, with small forward, power forward, 4,400 and assumed to be a starter now, he is a smash at that number.
So there's a funny part about this question. First off, Cade Cunningham and Bogdanovic are both questionable. Those are massive
Bojan Bogdanovic.
Oh, did I say the wrong
Bogdanovic? Yeah, just making sure because Bogdan is different and somebody I'm jamming right now. So
Bojan Bogdanovic questionable. Cade Cunningham also questionable. As for the other guys on the Pistons that are out today due to a trade or Killian Hayes just being terrible at basketball, here's something else to consider. There are very few relevant players in terms of the general NBA landscape that exist on the Detroit Pistons. So that's why guys like Killian Hayes, as well as guys like Kevin Knox, they don't seem significant, but their minutes have to go somewhere, which is what Eric was referencing. So that's where Thompson slots in as a really good value play today, their RADM. Fantasy Guru 76 must play center and a sleeper 4K to 5K shooting guard on FanDuel. All right, so looking at my FanDuel lineups here, the must-play center, I like Jakob Poeltl quite a bit. If you're going to be a little bit more contrarian, I also like PJ Washington. But the overall center I get the most of on FanDuel is Jakob Poeltl. How about yourself?
It was center on FanDuel, you said?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Jakob Poeltl as well.
And then the other question is sleeper 4K to 5K shooting guard. All right, 4K to 5K. Nobody. I hate to say that, but it's a shitty price range.
Yep. Guys, we're not doing the tech on it. We're doing everything we can to get the site back live here for you. We're working on that. But again, Greg and I, we're not in charge of that here at the moment. But hopefully we have that set up here in the next couple minutes.
And let's see what we have additionally for super chats. And oh, there we go. Eric trying to not be the exotic play of the night. There he goes. Nick Thompson, chalk that shits the bed. Eric, who's a chalk player that you expect to potentially shit the bed tonight?
Oh, the Amber Heard play. I saw that earlier. That made me laugh.
Who's the Amber play? Who's the Amber Heard play of the
Amber
night?
Heard play of the day? It is probably who's gonna shit on my bed. Probably Cam Whitmore again, even though he's not on the slate. Let's go with Caleb Martin, hey, outside, inside, out. Little Ricky Martin. That's a different guy.
Is that who's going to shit the bed?
Yep. Oh, cool. Bogdanovich, second most popular play on the slate now, as we got everything updated. Great. Awesome. Perfect.
Bogdanovich is the second most popular play on the slate now?
Sure is.
Oh, buddy. All right. I got to update everything for the latest news here. And now let's see what we have. Daniel Buffington is asking us a 2v2. RJ Barrett and Bogdan Bogdanovich, or Rozier and Derek White. Barrett and Bogdan Bogdanovich.
Correct.
Now let's go through the Discord questions and see how many of these we could answer before the show ends. First, Just Locks, FanDuel GPP. Should I go with Tatum and Derek White or Kawhi and McCollum? I'm going to lean towards Kawhi and McCollum. I like having McCollum in lineups in the event that Zion doesn't play.
That is correct.
Oh, here's one. We've got from Hayes Stable, Eric, who are two exotic plays of the day. By the way, you look like
site is good, everybody. Site, I think, just went back live. It was off for 3 minutes from 49 to 52. We're all good now. Say that again, correct?
He wants two exotic plays from you.
Two exotic plays. Bogdanovich, Kevin Huerter.
All right. Now we've got from Father of Three. Are you boosting anyone the ROI/ownership in the Sims tool for tonight? I never really use boosts in the ownership unless I really aggressively think somebody's going to be more or less popular. As far as the ROI boost, I get so much exposure to the Kings that I don't really have to change anybody. Where I really want to do the ROI boost is when players are questionable and I don't get exposure to later games. Kind of taken care of because of the amount of Kings exposure I have. I've already got Sabonis, Fox showing up in lineups.
Go. Still down for me. Yep, it's spinning for me here right now too again. Come on now, little thing.
Next question is coming to us from... Next question is from Gator Nation 850. Would we fade the first two games of the slate on FanDuel? No, don't do that.
Don't do that.
No need to fade the first two games. There's not like an overwhelming amount of value here where we have to be, saving ourselves for later. No need for that.
Yeah, like me, Lobo said, but I won't do that. That was pretty good.
Let's see what else. We have a question from Cap and Akella. Who's the one guy that we consider an absolute must play in single entry? Favorite single entry play?
Oh, well, I can't say Bogdanovich anymore. He is crazy popular. Oh, yeah, I can. I was the OG. I brought it up first. Bogdanovich. Done. Just play him in single entry.
Eric is going with Bogdanovich. Let's see. Tim Lee saying that he missed me. Thank you. Thank you. I was only gone for one day, though, and we're back now. Rico Rod, favorite FanDuel plays in single entry by position. All right, favorite single entry plays on FanDuel by position. That is going to be for me. Cody Martin. Trae Young at point guard now. Shooting guard, Azur Thompson. Small forward, Caleb Martin. Power forward, I will go with Tobias Harris, and then center Jakob Poeltl for me over on FanDuel. Melissa says, I think you could lift Eric Lindquist's spirits by telling them my 82-year-old mom walked into my office while the show was on yesterday, and she said that she likes Eric's voice and thinks that he's cute. Eric, 82? Is that too old for you or just about right?
Oh my God, sounds just... It's like the Three Little Bears. Too young, too old, just right. All 82. Right. I bet she knows a thing or two at 82. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Good for you, Eric.
Hell yeah, bro. Let's fucking go. I got it. I got this on lockdown.
Nice. Look at you. So that's something there, Eric. That's something.
That's a thing I'm doing.
Iron Maiden 2. He said that he is assuming that Bojan doesn't play. Who gets the biggest bump for Detroit if Bojan doesn't play? Probably Azur Thompson.
Yeah, definitely Azur Thompson.
Next question is coming to us from Trouble 35. Is Eric waiting on any late night exotics that could open up? Ooh.
Oh, who would be your late night exotics? Late night exotics. I don't think there are any late night exotics that I would be waiting on. No, Jonas Valanciunas potentially could get a bump up with no Zion, but like again, ever so slightly. Yeah. Remember when everybody was just jamming Larry Nance last slate, and now nobody wants to play Larry Nance? I remember these things. I certainly remember these things. I certainly have some $3,800 Larry Nance in lineups.
And Larry Nance it was crazy when he was 3,200 the other day. The other thing too with Larry Nance is that he is not exotic. I found, because I gave him as my exotic play of the night the other day, and people were up in arms about how he doesn't count.
He's a Wyoming boy too. I think he played college ball at Wyoming, if I remember correctly.
Let's see what else we have in here. This one is coming to us. Gangrene. PJ Washington or Jakob Poeltl on DraftKings. That is going to be for me on DraftKings, PJ Washington.
Am I not Poeltl enough for the Poeltl Club? Poeltl. PJ Washington for me too.
By the way, Poeltl is a good exotic play over on FanDuel. Don't like him.
Sure is. Yeah, well, he's especially good on FanDuel. Yes, that is correct.
We've got a Master PJ Leaky starting now. Should we even go there? I don't have much interest in Leaky Black.
Did you watch him play basketball the other night? I watched him play basketball the other night. I have no interest in a guy who doesn't want to shoot. That doesn't seem fun.
He was the other night when he projected better. I didn't like him. I definitely don't like him today when he projects worse.
Yeah, not gonna. It's because everybody just saw what he did on a floor along with the same guys again. It was not an enjoyable experience for anybody involved.
Next question is from Chalupas and Chicken. Yo, big dog, just got here. What's your favorite player per position? And then also Eric's favorite GPP play of the night. Has your favorite GPP of the night changed, Eric? Because it was Bogdanovich before, but now he's a bit more popular.
Yeah, Bogdanovich. I like PJ Washington still. That was the exotic play, and then not the exotic, this is the nuke of the night. I get my bits wrong, sorry. I would also say I like Jalen Johnson quite a bit too.
Okay.
We're talking about big minutes for Jalen Johnson. He's not going anywhere. 52.8% true shooting in 377 minutes without DeJounte Murray on the floor. That has to improve. Like he's better than that. So I think that is why we're only seeing him at a 1.05 fantasy point per minute guy on DraftKings right now. You always want to have context when you're looking at stuff like that, because again, I do expect better results for him going forward.
Right, get my lineups in right now. And let me double check to make sure there's no super chats that came in. No. So, all right, rapid fire. Getting through as many of these Discord questions
go,
in the last couple of minutes. Just locks with news coming out for FanDuel GPP. Herter and Derek White, or Pritchard and Jaylen Brown. For FanDuel purposes, I'm going to say Derek White and Kevin Herter. Nicola 9292. Tatum and White versus Brown and Fox. I like De'Aaron Fox quite a bit for DraftKings. So Brown and Fox there. I love money. Wants to know, are four Kings too many in a single lineup?
A lot.
It's a little bit much. However, I'm going to say to you that you could always pivot off of some of those guys. I don't mind it for now. Don't finish with four players from the Kings in your lineup. But if you have four for now and then you pivot as more news comes out, totally acceptable way to play this.
That's a lot at the book. Yeah.
Sick Mosh wants to know must plays for cash games today. Azur Thompson, Trae Young now.
Yep.
Bogdanovich, Caleb Martin. These are all must plays for cash. De'Aaron Fox, guys I think you should really have in cash games. Marquee Sports, Harden or Trae Young. Yep. Tim Lee wants to know my favorite cash play. Azur Thompson overall is my favorite cash play. Yep. Nicola 9292, Poeltl and Mitchell versus Allen and Fox. I prefer Allen and Fox.
Same.
NRG, Pritchard and Lyles or don't play Springer now that Maxi's in. No.
Don't play Springer. Playing Springer, I hit dangers. I wouldn't play Springer. No.
All right, there we go. We made it just in time as we got to lock there. So guys, thank you very much for watching. If you've not done it yet, do us a big favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm going to be hanging out in Discord for the rest of the night. I know that there's going to be some news that could potentially come out because we got the big gap between games again. We've got 3 hours until the next game, until the late games, I should say, start. So here's what I want you guys to do if you're in Discord. Just hang out. And then once we get some news that comes, like Cade, Cunningham, Bojan Bogdanovic, if you guys have any questions about that in Discord, hit me up when we get the news come out or just leading up to it. and I'll help you swap your lineup. So I'll be hanging out in there. For everybody else, guys, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Good night. Peace out.